Are you a boater that struggles to catch fish? Maybe you fish from shore and you just can't figure out what you're doing wrong. Well, you're in luck. Our captains are going to share their tips, tricks, and techniques to help you catch more fish. We're talking about how to fish jetties and piers on this week's Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts right now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to another week on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Jim Ross, filling in for Rick, who is off filming another fishing adventure we know as Sportsman Adventures with our captain from the ALTA Equipment Northeast region. So Jim, thank you once again for being with me.
It's a pleasure. You know, I think I'm traveling as much as Rick's traveling lately. I mean, he's off and I'm here, and
I love it. I love it. Keep it coming. All right. Well, we're talking, like you said, we're talking piers and jetties this week, heading into Labor Day weekend, and I know Dave Farrell at the CCA Workbench is going to have something to say about it too, aren't you, Dave?
Oh yeah, I've spent a lot of time running up and down the bridges and piers and jetties and rocks, hopping. You know, that's what I did for a long time because I never had any money for a boat. So me and my brother did that a lot.
You were running and hopping? Do you still run and hop?
I used to be able to run and hop a lot better than I can now.
Well,
now I kind of roll.
You kind of roll. We'll roll you down the pier, roll you down the jetty. All right, well, we're starting our Labor Day weekend off in the GARMIN PANHANDLE region with Captain Pat Deneen, who is telling what all the pier and jetty fuss is all about. Talk to us, Pat.
Hey, Brie, I tell you what, the Panhandle does have really good opportunities for shore-based anglers. On the beach side, there's 5 major piers that stretch out between Panama City and Pensacola. In addition, Destin and Panama City both have large jetties, really good for shore-based fishing off the jetty. And also, Pensacola has a shorter jetty that does offer really good fishing. King mackerel, Spanish mackerel, cobia, pompano, tarpon, redfish, all those are regularly caught and targeted off the piers. Spring is a great time to target the pompanos and the cobia. In the summertime, tarpon, mackerels, bonitas are all caught regularly. And right now it's bonita, a few mackerels, both king and Spanish, lots of ladyfish and blue runners. But in the fall, the pompano and the king fishing improves greatly. In addition, the winter times, especially that January, February, early March timeframe, the blackfin tuna show up in sometimes pretty good numbers, especially off the Navarre Pier. So there's definitely lots of opportunities. You don't need a boat to catch good fish in the Panhandle GARMIN region. Staying inshore, my report comes from Lucky Chucky Charters in Navarre. He reports improving slot redfish bite along with all the short trout you can handle. He says the redfish bite on the south side of the sound near Big Sabine has been really consistent. They're casting gold spoons or popping corks baited with a live shrimp or a small pinfish, targeting the potholes in the channels and the edges of the grass where it meets the sand. Additionally, on the north side, the residential docks have been steady for redfish using the same baits and lures. And if you want to move out a little bit deeper into grass, 3 to 5 foot of water, cast popping corks with a bass assassin or a fish bite shrimp under it for all the 13 to 15 inch trout you want. Basically, you're going to catch 1 out of 10 or 15 trout that is legal. So there's lots of short ones there, and you wade through them, you'll catch some legal ones. And then moving offshore, the vermilion snapper fishing has been really consistent in both state and federal waters, and there's some really big ones being caught. I mean, some that you go, is that a vermilion or a red snapper? I mean, nice size ones. Find them on metal wrecks and natural bottom in 80 to 200 foot of water. Use a 1 or 2 hook chicken rig baited with cut bait, and also minnows or squid. And then also, if you can get them, small pilchards and baby herrings are great vermilion snapper baits. Use a 1/0 to 2/0 thin wire circle hook and the lightest leader and weight you can get away with. Triggerfish, mangrove, and lane snappers are also possibilities that you're going to catch while you're targeting the vermilions, and they're all really good eating. All great table fare, and the vermilions have a pretty liberal bag limit, so it's a good time to do that. And then finally, offshore, go deep and hit the fats for the pelagics. I've heard there's been some dirtier water moved in lately, but I mean, there's structure there, and there's structure there, there's fish there. Dolphin are regularly being caught, but also some wahoo and a few billfish. And it's starting to get into that time of year where the white marlin and sailfish are becoming more common and targetable. So troll skipping or swimming or skirted ballyhoo. A dredge or two will add a lot to your spread. And be sure to have some spinning rods rigged and ready with either a jig or a single hook. for when you know the fish is still there, you can see them, but they're not wanting to take that troll bait. Stop the boat and chum them a little bit with some cut baits and throw some spinner knots.
Great report this week, especially with those metal wrecks that are holding those vermilion. Pat, appreciate it. I'm going to take your hot spots from here. The Blue Water Outriggers hot spots from the Panhandle region. Pat says pompano and redfish in the surf off Pensacola, in the beaches off Fort Pickens using sand fleas or fish bites. And then offshore, scamp and gag groupers. You want to run out to the west and look at that 200 to 250 foot structure. That's where you're going to find those fish.
Well, it sounds like a good time in the Garmin Panhandle region this weekend.
And it's interesting that he picked out the metal wrecks, not some of those others. So
yeah,
that's
a tip.
That's a good tip for this week. Yeah,
it's a clue to finding your fish this weekend. All right, if you reside in the Fish Bites East region, head over to the Lake Worth and Juneau Piers. And as far as jetties at the inlets go, snook and snapper are holding strong. Captain Mike Holliday, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, there's a lot of great places. We got just a ton of great land-based areas to fish. The Lake Worth and Juneau Piers give you access to everything like snook and whiting and pompano. If you like offshore fish, there's kingfish, snapper, and the occasional dolphin or sailfish are caught off that pier. There's also a great fishing pier on the Jensen Beach Causeway. That's a good spot to catch snook and flounder and Spanish mackerel. And as far as jetties go, all the inlets in my region have jetties that anglers can access. There's great snook fishing off all those jetties. You want to fish the south side, the Lake Worth, the Jupiter, and the Fort Pierce inlets. At St. Lucie Inlet, you can park at Bathtub Beach and walk south to the jetty, or walk the beach inside the inlet and fish all through there. And all these areas, you can target snook with big swimming plugs or jigs or live shrimp on a jig head. As a mullet run gets going on, you can start working with live mullet. There's also a lot of snapper that are tight to the rocks this time of the year. You can fish them with a live shrimp or a pilchard. You want to do that on the slack tides. So, plenty of areas to fish from if you're a land-based angler. The other thing we got going on, the moons are late this year. And I think that's going to keep the snook around the inlets and around the beaches a little later than normal. Snook season opens today. With the building moon, we should see some really good action in all of the inlets and on the beaches. Places like Hope Sound Beach, the Hope Sound Wildlife Refuge, Bob Graham Beach, Pepper Park in Fort Pierce, Vero Cove. All that should be good. In those areas, you can throw a saltwater assassin, copper juiced 4-inch sea shad, or a small swimming plug. If live baits are game, a pilchard, a threadfin, a sardine, or a croaker, all those will get the bite. There's also been a great bite at night on the bridges and docks that are close to the inlets. So places like the Lighthouse and Coast Guard Station and the A1A Bridge in Jupiter, the 25-cent Bridge in Stewart, north and south bridges in Fort Pierce. All those areas are going to have fish right now, along with the dock line that's on the south side of Fort Pierce Inlet. Fish those areas at night with everything from a topwater plug to a red-tail hawk jig. You throw the jig on the windy nights. Live shrimp will work really well. Live crabs, there's a lot of crabs running on the outgoing tides. And then obviously the pilchards or threadfins are going to do very well. The average snook in my region is going to be like 6 to 12 pounds. I have a nice snook photo. Mark Beatty of Stewart, he caught that nice slot-sized snook on a dock near Sandspit Park. And he caught it on fly, caught it on a baitfish fly, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. Well, tell us about what's going on offshore in your region, Mike.
Well, the kingfish bite remains the most consistent action for blue water anglers. The fish are along the reef in 90 to 120 feet, really all throughout Palm Beach County. And then the shallower areas like the Loran Ledge and the 6 Mile Reef in Martin County, and the 8 Mile Reef has a few fish. The offshore bar in St. Lucie County, the Vero Cove's been really good. There's been a lot of fish on the bait schools that are near shore as well. Places like the Kingfish Hole off Hope Sound, and the Junk Hole off Jensen Beach, and the condos north of Fort Pierce Inlet have kings on them. Most of those kings are in the 10 to 20 pound range, but there have been a few big fish around as well, particularly on those bait schools that are around the St. Lucie Inlet and the Vero Cove. You want to target those fish with a wire stinger rig or a triple hook monofilament Palm Beach rig. You can slow troll or drift with live sardines, threadfins, pilchards. There's a lot of blue runners around. They make a great kingfish bait, or goggle eyes. And over the next couple of weeks, as a mullet starts showing up for the mullet run, they'll be a good bait. I have a really nice kingfish photo. That's, excuse me, that's Jose Huncadilla. He caught that big kingfish from a bait school that was on the beach. That fish ate a live threadfin on an R&R titanium wire rig.
Okay, Jose.
Heck yeah.
I get it.
Now, the other bite we got going, the mutton snapper bite has been really good for about like 3 weeks right now. The last big concentration of these fish for the summer should take place on next week's full moon. So if you're looking for a big fish, you'll find it in 95 feet of water along the reef off Lake Worth. You'll find them on the Loran Ledge, the 6 Mile Reef, and wrecks like the Halsey and Amazon in St. Lucie County. Smaller fish can be found on the sand pile off Stewart, as well as on the patch reefs throughout the region. The big muttons tend to be leader shy, so anglers that are looking for them target them with a triple hook, triple swivel rig with a weight on the bottom and 30 to 50 feet of 40 to 60 pound fluorocarbon leader with a 6/0 circle hook on it. And for bait, everything from a live or dead sardine to a pilchard, a cigar minnow. A lot of guys like to use grunt plugs or a chunk of bonita. For the smaller fish, you can drop down a live crab or a pilchard, put that on a jig head if you want, or fish one of those. If you look around the inlets right now, there's a lot of 4-inch sardines and pilchards that are out where the bait schools normally are. Those are amazing mutton snapper bait, particularly for those smaller fish. Average mutton snapper is 5 to 10 pounds. I had a photo that Mike Doyle sent me. That's a shot of some nice muttons they got. They were fishing the Loran Ledge with just live pilchards.
Lovely stuff. Well, tell us about the bass.
Well, despite the heat, the bass bite's going strong on Headwaters Lake in Fellsmere. I was talking to Captain Nathan Shellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He said the bass are chasing small shad out in the open holes and in the small pockets of open water in the deeper areas of the lake. So you want to start your day looking for bass that are busting bait. You can fish areas like the Square Pond or the north and south pits and fish anything from a small prop bait to a gold or chrome lipless crankbait or a white Bass Assassin tap-out worm rig Senko style. The roll keys, the lure's got to be less than 3 inches long, 4 inches long. Something small because the shad are small. Most of the fish that are being caught on the shad schools are in that 1 to 3 pound range, but there's plenty of fish up to about 6 pounds. If you're really looking for a big fish, live shiners are the way to go. Right now it's a 20 fish morning on artificials, and the guys that are shiner fishing are catching more like 40 to 50 fish a morning. So Headwaters Lake is still one of the hotter lakes in the country right now.
You know, Mike, with those shad being late, you had mentioned earlier in the report for your offshore that the snappers were late. The shad are doing the same thing in my pond up in the Central East region, in that they are very late. They're very small this year, and so that's a great tip to talk about fishing something that's only 1 to 3 or maybe 4 inches at the largest. Yeah. Because everything is smaller later this year. That's
match in the hat.
Yeah, and it seems to be a pattern that they're kind of trending to. The moons are kind of weird. The moons are kind of like 2 weeks behind this year.
Yeah.
So everything follows that moon is cyclic. Small baits are the key right now, and that'll change over in about probably on the next full moon, even in about 10 days.
So Mike, you have a pretty busy, fun life. What are you doing for Labor Day weekend? Just wondering.
I'm fishing.
Every day?
I am fishing every single day. Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to end up at the sandbar?
No.
Oh, Mike Holiday, who are you?
No, on Labor Day weekend, that is not my place.
You're laboring. That's what he's doing. And fishing.
I'm
That's
not
a
that
zoo.
tough anymore. It used to be 100 boats. Now it's 1,000 boats.
Well, thanks for that report, Mike. We appreciate it. I'm going to take your
See you,
TH Marine hotspots for the Central East region for here. Captain Mike says, snook at the Jupiter Inlet on incoming tides use live croakers, sardines, and threadfins, and then offshore yellowtail, mutton, and mangrove snapper in 85 to 105 feet of water off the Juneau Beach area. Sardines, cigar minnows, and squid, and like he was mentioning, especially for those muttons, those small baits that are inside the inlet.
Money.
That's exactly what he said. Money.
Money. Yeah. All right, more Pier and Jetty talk coming at you from the ALTA Equipment Northeast region. But first, Dave is coming at you with some Academy Sports and Outdoors rigs and techniques at the CCA workbench. Dave, got a lot of stuff over there.
Yeah, I do. And you can either, have a lot of stuff and have a cart, or you can have a little bit of stuff and have a nice little backpack.
And be a mule.
I'm pretty much a mule anyway.
We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Sirius XM Marine. Weather, fish mapping, entertainment. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Real Legends. Everything you need to live life local. Penn. Let the battle begin. CASA VIEJA Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Stiffy. Innovators in shallow water performance. And Daiquiri Deck. Food, drinks, friends.
Well, we're at the CCA workbench for the Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques segment of the show. And
Yes, sir.
Jetties and Piers. You can get as simple or as complicated as you want, just like with a boat, Dave.
Correct. You know, in Florida, we have great opportunities all the way around the state.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, have gone to other states where they don't have nearly as many. You know, we have a lot of coastline, but boy, we've got a lot of great places. You know, a lot of jetties and inlets and piers and stuff for everybody to fish on. And like I said earlier, when I was a young man, I didn't have a boat for the longest time. So me and my brother, that's how we did most of our fishing. We spent a lot of time rock hopping, we called it.
Rock
you know?
hopping,
We learned quite a few things. You know, one of the first things, I'm going to go try to hit 10 things real quick here. The first thing is, you know, the early bird gets the spot. You know, you want to get the good spot on the pier or the jetty, you know, and it's not always at the very end. You know, a lot of times there'll be a trough or a place where the bait are hanging. That's where you want to be fishing from. You don't want to have to walk all the way down to the end unless you have to. You know, so always, you know, take a good look as you're walking down the pier or the jetty and make sure that you're not passing up good spots just because you want to fish at the very end.
Just even in a little irregularity, like an extra rock that sticks
Correct.
out that maybe changes the current right there.
Yeah, any little thing
Something,
that can
just
be
something
holding
different.
fish,
Yeah,
you know.
something different. You're
So
right.
always look for that thing. And while being early is good, you know, being on a good tide is even better.
Yeah.
You know, if the tide is going to be dead low at dawn, sleep in a little bit. You know,
Right.
A high tide going out is usually better on an inlet or on a pier, or because you know the high tide makes the fish come up into the surf, and on a inlet, you know, when it's flooding out, all the fish stage up waiting for the stuff to come floating out. So you know, paying attention to the tide is a big thing when you're fishing inshore, and especially on a pier or a bridge or anything like that. Long casts are key. You know, a lot of times you can catch fish right at your feet.
I was going to say.
You know, a lot of times those, you know, we'll be in a boat and be fishing right on the rocks, and all the guys are trying to pass us up, you know, throwing over us. But generally speaking, long casts are best. You know, 7.5 foot rod, heavier jigs and stuff, because you're fishing in deeper water, usually 10 feet, maybe even more, in a lot of the places on the ends of the piers and some of the deeper jetties, like up in the Cape, you know, where I'm casting into some really deep water. And you want your jigs, the stuff, to be hitting on the bottom. You know, that's usually where your jigs are going to do the best. You know, so heavier is usually better on the pier.
And a lot of times it depends on what you're targeting.
Right.
Obviously, snook, redfish are going to be down low, flounder down low. If you're throwing at Spanish or bluefish that are chasing glass minnows, generally they're up in the water column.
Right.
So obviously what you're throwing is going to dictate what you catch, or vice versa. What you catch is going to be dictated, or is going to dictate what you need to throw to catch that species.
Right. And a lot of times, you know, fish will hug the bottom in a heavy current. Because when they're hugging the bottom, they're out of the current, believe it or not. They can actually get right down on the bottom. And if you're bouncing your jig down there,
as an example, fishing Sebastian Inlet, and I know you fish Sebastian a lot.
Right.
A flare hawk jig, money.
Right.
Absolute money at night.
An R&R one, just like that.
And what you need to do is, if there's a couple of rocks out there, say this is a rock and this is a rock, you need to learn how to cast, let that thing come down, kind of tick off that rock, and then there's a fish. Like that pink jig will illustrate with how the fish is. It'll hit, it'll tick off, and then that fish is right there, bang, he hits it.
Right.
But if you don't let it get down and maybe hit that structure once in a while, you're going to lose a jig or two.
Right.
But if it's up here, he may not come all the way up there. So you have to learn to fish that structure that's in the bottom of that place.
Right. We always said, if you're not losing jigs, you're not fishing right.
You are exactly right.
And it's the same way with, let's say, if you're using a big swimming plug, like a Bomber Long A, which is, the chartreuse bomber in Sebastian Inlet especially. It's always been a go-to.
Always been a go-to.
But what you can do is you can take off that front hook. A lot of times if you take off the front hook, it won't hang a lot of times.
Good tip.
Because it's
Good
digging
tip.
and digging and digging, and a lot of time it's that front hook that'll hang up. If you take that front hook off, you might not catch as many fish. You might lose a fish or two. You might get a bite that you don't hook up, but you won't lose a lot of jigs or baits, and those things are expensive.
Yeah.
And the Sebastian Inlet bottom is littered with them. So, you can have a backpack. I always like to have at least one hand free, especially if I'm on a jetty, because when you're rock hopping, it's always good to have at least one hand free in case you fall.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to fall, but it can happen, and you can get your feet down in those rocks and holes, and it can be pretty dangerous if you're not careful. So always, try to have either a backpack or something so that you can keep one hand free. Or you can have a cart if you're fishing on a pier or a bridge, say down in Key West, where you can walk for a quarter of a mile. Yep. It's good to have a beach cart or a pier cart, and I have beach wheels on here, but that doesn't matter. Go for the beach wheels anyway, because the beach wheels work in the sand and on the pier. Pier wheels don't work in the sand.
Right.
So you go ahead and spend the money for the balloon tires, and because they'll still work. Always wear good shoes, especially on the jetty, and don't wear open-toed sandals and whatnot, because again, those granite rocks and everything are unforgiving. Those barnacles are unforgiving. The hardhead catfishes laying all over the pier that people lay around are unforgiving. And take care of your feet. Wear some nice, good stuff that's good traction. Good pair.
Now, what about, you're talking about this little backpack, okay?
Right.
Do you specifically target a species or a time of day? Let's say you're going daytime fishing. Do you have a daytime pack, or do you have a species pack?
I always try to have a pack that is designated to just one or two species. That way I'm not carrying a whole lot of crap. And especially if I don't have the cart. I'm going to run with, like say I'm fishing for pompano or, pompano and whiting, or if I'm going to be fishing for snook and mackerels. They're totally different things.
Right.
So I don't want to carry everything for both.
Gotcha.
Now, if I'm going to go there and spend the whole day, I'll bring my cart and I'll bring all that stuff, because you never know during the day what's going to happen. If you're there for the whole day, you can go through a lot of different stuff. A lot of times I on the end of my lines when I'm fishing on a pier or jetty, I put snap swivels on so that I can change lures really quick. Right. Like if the bluefish are out there or the Spanish mackerel, I can see them are out there.
All of a sudden they pop up.
They pop up, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time cutting off and tying. I can just undo a snap swivel and put it on and wing it, and you'll catch a lot more fish that way. Not hanging around, trying to get everything out quickly.
So keep it simple when you need to, but there are times that you need to be more elaborate, have more tackle with you, especially if you're spending full day and you're going long distances on a pier.
Right.
Great stuff, Dave. Great stuff. We're going to send it back to you, Brie. Where are we going next?
Well, you guys covered it all. The possibilities are endless in the ALTA Equipment Northeast region when it comes to the PJs, and Captain Tommy is live to tell us what they are. Tommy Derringer, go for it.
Brie, that's right. We got all kinds of awesome fishing piers and jetties here in the Northeast region. 3 popular beach fishing piers in the region. It's going to be the Jacksonville Pier, the St. Augustine Pier, the Flagler Beach Piers. You can catch all kinds of different fish from those piers depending on the time of year. And, right now, with pogies and those red minnows and soon to be mullet migrating down the beach, it's going to be a great time to check those piers out. They can produce some huge kingfish throughout this time of year. And along with those kingfish, the redfish, the tarpon, big jack, Spanish mackerel, all that kind of stuff, they all get into those pods of bait along the beach, and they're going to pass by all those piers. So, if you're looking to catch a big fish from one of our piers late summer, like right now, early fall, it's a great time to go check them out. A live mullet or a live pogie, either on the bottom or free line, depending on what you're going for, it's going to be a great way to go. But you can also do well with just about any kind of cut bait, and which can be a lot easier when you're fishing off the jetty. Or off the pier. Now, the jetty fishing, it's just about to fire up as well. The mullet, both the big ones and the small ones, they're just starting to show the beginnings of our fall mullet run. It's only going to get better. Some of our jetties are easier to access on foot than others, but you know what? It's a great place to catch a big fish without the need for a boat. Now, whether in a boat or fishing from shore, like I said, it's about to get good in the inlets. The tarpon, the sharks, redfish, those jacks, they're all going to be ganging up in the inlets, busting through those schools of mullet very soon. Now, the slot and the bull redfish, which is always a star species to go after there, they're going to be schooling up, look to get into that mullet action. Now, the best tide for those guys are going to be an hour or two on either side of slack tide, and that's getting ready to be the go-to thing for those redfish to the inlets. And I've got a picture here. My good buddy, Captain AJ Group, sent me this picture of his fiancee, Emma Beth, with a nice bull red that they caught at the St. Augustine Jetty Rocks.
Good stuff.
Now, also inshore, guys, this Labor Day weekend, we've got a moon that historically has been some of the best tarpon fishing of the year for me. You know, the tarpon are going to be feeding on the mullet and other bait fish early in the morning at the inlets on that first of the incoming tide. Now, they're also going to be along the beach on the bait pods. Now, live pogie, it's always going to be one of the go-tos on the beach. But for me recently here, a big finger mullet or even a big swim bait like that 6-inch saltwater assassin sea shad has been working really well for those tarpon. And with the big paddle tail, you can make a quick and accurate cast to rolling fish. And, you know, sometimes that's your best bet at getting one of those big tarpon to eat. Now, over the next few weeks, we're going to start, like I said before, we're going to start to see more and more mullet showing up, and those tarpon are going to go into full-on feed mode. And I've got a photo of a tarpon here. This is a shot that I took of my client's tarpon airing out this past week along the beach in St. Augustine. Aside from fishing, my other favorite thing to do is probably take pictures of tarpon jumping. I think they make an awesome thing to take a picture of.
You don't say, Tommy.
You know, Tommy, I can almost hear his gills rattling on that photo. Almost hear them.
Awesome.
That's such a great photo. Well, tell us about your offshore
moving
stuff.
Offshore, guys, you know, we're talking mutton, snappers again this week. The snapper bite's still going strong. And it's probably going to be a good bet this weekend with that upcoming full moon that I mentioned before. You know, it should have the snapper, both the muttons and the mangroves. They're going to be grouped up in that 100 to 160 foot range throughout the region. You know, like I've been talking about over the last few weeks, chumming them up is going to be the great way to get those snappers to bite. Now, guys like Captain Jimmy Laidler and Captain Adam Jeffrey, they got the chumming game down to a science. They've been very, very successful this summer on those snapper. Others that haven't put in the time to chum, maybe not so much. So, you know what? You might want to make sure that you're ready to get the chum flowing out there if you're going to head out to bottom fish this weekend. Now, also offshore, the kingfish bite, both along the beach and on the nearshore reefs, has been good this week. Some big spawning fish have been on the beach, and the smaller, what we call snake kings, have been all over the nearshore reefs and wrecks. You know, you can just simply slow troll a live pogie or even a Berkeley Magic Swimmer swim bait, either up top or on the downrigger, around the bait, over the structure, that kind of stuff, and you're going to find some kingfish. Guys, I hope everybody has a fun and safe Labor Day weekend, and I've got one last picture here. This is Brandon G. with a big beach kingfish that he caught with me near the red top south of Jack's Beach on one of those Berkeley Magic Swimmers, and it aired out, man. It was a great bite.
Did you take that photo, Tommy?
I did, yes.
It's awesome. Could have guessed. Good job. Happy Labor Day.
You know,
have fun.
I'm going to have to upgrade my iPhone 5.
You are.
The picture quality
the
picture quality just isn't there.
You really should.
Thanks a lot, Tommy. I'm going to take your strike zone hotspots for the Northeast region from here. Inshore, Tommy says it's tarpon time at the inlets and bridges. Right on the first of the incoming, it seems to be the best, especially in the morning. Freeline live mullet or pinfish back to the bridge or wherever you see them rolling or busting, because a lot of times those fish will actually be on the down current side of the bridge. So just take note of that. The other thing, offshore, king mackerel. Right now, you can catch them anywhere from the beach to 30 feet to 50 feet out, and on any of the nearshore reefs throughout the region. And like he was saying, an R&R kingfish rig, slow trolling those pogies. Money. I'm sorry, did you say iPhone 5? Is it really a 5? It's a 5,
okay.
Yes.
How many cameras does it have? One?
It just has one
camera.
camera.
Mine has 3.
Yeah,
we need to get you with the times
if
you're taking pictures like Tommy Derringer.
My son won't give it up. Every time he's like, Dad, let me see your brick.
Come on.
Let me see your brick.
You're definitely due for an upgrade.
I am.
All right, the Star competition ends this Monday. We've been talking about it all season, Labor Day. So if you are fishing this weekend, there's still time to register and win nearly $500,000 in prizes, and scholarships will be awarded on on October 8th during the Star Awards ceremony presented by Visit Space Coast. And you know, everyone's invited. Tickets are only $65 and include dinner, unlimited libations, entertainment, and a killer swag bag.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. Go to the Star website for further details, ccaflstar.com. Now, the STARTRON Central West and YANMAR ASV Keys region are gearing up for one heck of a Labor Day 3-day weekend. So make sure you stay hooked only on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. And we'll be right back with more Piers and Jetties.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by POWERPOLE, Total Boat Control. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Bahio Sunglasses, blue light blocking, radically clear lenses. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. R&R Tackle, from our tackle box to yours. Florida Coast Equipment, your local Kubota dealer. Coast to coast, we've got you covered. And GARMIN, plot your paradise.
Welcome back. We've covered a lot already, but if you're looking for jetty and pier tips in the STARTRON Central West region, Captain Jeff Page has everything you're going to need. Tell us what's up, Page?
Yes, I do. And you know what? It all starts down south part of my region. We have some really nice jetties down there at Venice, which they cut those jetties back in the 40s or 50s, so they're a long time. Lots of rocks and lots of easy access to get out on the jetties, north, which is in the Nokomis area, and south, which is in Venice. As you move north, there's some rock passes around New Pass and Big Pass, but probably our best well-known pier is the Sunshine Skyway Fishing Pier, which in 1981, after the center span was rammed in the fog by a big barge, they left the two north and south spans as the longest fishing piers, I think, in the state, maybe other than the Keys. The neat thing about the Skyway Fishing Pier, you guys, is you can drive your car out into some of the best fishing in the middle of Tampa Bay, and they've left a lot of structure down. Now, if you've never pier fished, I suggest going out and spending an afternoon and just seeing what the locals are using and how they're catching bait. But a good rod and reel outfit to use if you're going to bring a rod is a 7 to a 7.5 foot medium heavy rod with at least a 4,000 or 5,000 size spinning reel outfitted with 20-pound braid and 30-pound fluorocarbon leader. You're not going to land everything, but you can land a lot. I've got a couple pier photos tonight from my good friend Eric Hernandez, who pretty much, that's his forte. He loves pier fishing, and those are both, the Permit and the Kingfisher are both from the Venice Fishing Pier. Staying inshore, the red fishing continues to get better, and you know what? I can honestly say these afternoon thunderstorms have really helped. And what I mean by that is, you know, you get the water cooling down from the afternoon rain, then you get the evening, which cools it more. So come morning time, you might have an 8-degree water temperature difference. And Jimmy, you know that makes a big difference.
Oh, that's the truth. You know, that's the one thing we've been struggling with back home is that just 90-degree water temperatures don't catch fish.
Especially right out of the gate in the morning. But 82, 83,
that's sweet.
It makes them a little frisky, and you know we love frisky fish.
Heck yeah, brother.
Anyway, so just inside Brie, where you and I fished, has still been really good on the higher tide around the oyster bars, as well as in Palmasola and Terracea Bay, and even on the west side of our bay around Buttonwood Harbor, south to the moorings, has been really good, and that was a ghost town after the red tide of 2018. Down south, Bull and Turtle Bay bars, both real good, and then I got good reports around Egmont Key, some big oversized slot fish, which leads up to my picture, oversized slot redfish. I have a redfish photo tonight of my team STARTRON, which we won the Sarasota Slam, and that's one of our winning redfish, both 39 inchers, both caught by Billy Ahlstrom, Ryan Shannon, and Jason Azulowitz from POWERPOLE. Team STARTRON rocked the Sarasota Slam. Going offshore, permit fishing, again, I believe the afternoon rains has helped that, especially with the good crab flush going out the passes. I've been getting good reports from down around Englewood, 3 to 11 miles on the artificial reefs, which are marked. You can get all your reefs at your county commissioner's office. And then it's a good idea if you have the Rodan trolling motor with a spot lock. It allows you to jockey around the reef so you can find the good setup with your crabs to where you can free line them out the back. I like to put a split shot on one and free line one. Got a really nice permit photo tonight from Captain Jason Stock of a happy client with a really big permit he got last week. And my final species, gag grouper, with a red grouper closing, you guys. The gag grouper is going to be the go-to species, and there's been some really good gags caught. 110 to 150 foot of water, pretty much the entire region. Live pinfish, but if you can get grunts, get them, because that grunt stays down. He doesn't come back up. And, of course, frozen sardines will get the job done. My last photo is not of a gag, but of his ancestor, the true black. And that's a 105-pound black grouper caught that won the Sarasota Slam this past weekend. And that's Captain Dawson Day holding that big monster.
Darn right it did.
Wow, that's-
Shoot, that's awesome.
Jeff, I have a quick question for you. 39-inch
39
redfish in the Central West region. These fish have been released for the last 5, 6, 7 years now, and what it looks like is that you're growing fish over there now like we would have in the Central East region. The Central West region has not been known as a Mogan-sized fishery, you know, the big, giant fishery.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is? Is it the catch and release, or would you just, I'm not sure what it is, but you guys definitely are getting
I think it's a lot of it. But I also believe, Jimmy, that every year around this time, end of September and October, those big bulls do come in the bay out of the Gulf. But our Gulf fishery is more of a guy on his way in from grouper fishing coming across a giant school. It's not something you can target.
Gotcha. But they're there. So that's, keep your eyes peeled,
Yeah.
right? Keep your eyes peeled. Well, thanks, Captain Page. I'm going to take your daiquiri deck hot spots for the Central West region from here. Captain Page says inshore, good speckled trout on the top water. You want to look at the deeper flats off Emerson Point north to Rattlesnake Key. And then offshore, big amberjack are holding on the ledges and the springs in 110 to 150 feet of water off Venice. That was a big black.
That was huge.
Big black.
That was huge.
Oh,
Of course
my
it
goodness.
won. Good
I
for
mean,
you.
105? Really?
Yeah.
Come on.
Whole body. All right, well, the YANMAR ASB Keys region isn't quite known for piers and jetties, but Captain Sarah Stanzik is telling us what the beautiful Florida Keys is known for if your weekend plans don't include watercraft usage. Go for it, Sarah.
Hey, Brie. Yep, you're right. Not too many piers and jetties here for fishing, but we do have great fishing bridges, so I'm going to talk about that instead. So many people come to fish bridges in Alamorada anyway, and the whole all of Keys, but so many people come directly to Alamorada to fish bridges that we actually have at Bud and Mary's Marina like a bridge fishing kit. When you walk through the door, we give you a pamphlet with like directions on where to go and how to fish at the bridges, and a rental rod and a bucket and bait and all the hooks and anything. It's all rigged up for bridge fishing success. That's how many people come to fish the bridges. So we have a out-the-door kit ready to go for people. But it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of, the cool thing about bridges is that they can host a huge variety of fish. Anything from mangrove snapper and jacks to permit and tarpon and even snooker caught off of our local bridges. And you never really know what you're going to get. You can fish the bridges during the day or in the middle of the night and catch those snook and weird things at night that are unexpected. So it's kind of a cool thing to do. And all the bridges here are set up really nicely with fishing separate walkways. So you're not next to traffic or anything like that. They're all separate from the road, the highway. I see people all the time set up their umbrellas and tents and bring coolers and like their grills, and they'll just catch a fish and put it right on the grill and eat lunch right by the scenic overseas highway.
Oh,
That doesn't get much
then.
fresher than that.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't forget, you can also be in your boat and fish under and around the bridges too. I just talked about fishing off the bridges, so other options. Also inshore, moving inshore from the bridges, I've seen some nice permits caught on the flats lately. Not an easy task, especially if you're sight fishing for them. They're pretty tricky, spooky. A lot of times we'll kind of catch them on accident when we're bone fishing, just when we have, shrimp soaking out in the flats. But they'll happily eat a live shrimp or crab for bait, and they're a fun fight on lighter spinning gear like the Penn Spin Fisher. So here's a photo of a client with Captain Perry Scuderi.
Harry Scuderi.
That's a great looking little
Perry,
permit.
that's his name.
Awesome.
He's been a Bud Mary's a long time. Nice guy.
Well, tell us about the offshore
catch.
species.
Offshore, we got blackfin tunas around. They're on the humps, we call that, offshore. So it doesn't matter really what size they're in. They kind of come in all different sizes. Like football size is kind of a term we use in the Keys because a lot of them are right in that area, the size of a football. But they can get bigger, like 20, 25 pounds. They all taste great. Doesn't matter what size they are, but they're great to eat. Really good sushi, one of my favorite sushi fish to eat. It does make a difference when you first catch the fish if you bleed them before you put them on ice, so that helps the meat stay really good quality. They really they like live bait, so like live pilchards, cigar minnows are popular for them, and like a Penn 6,500 or 7,500 reel with 30 to 40 pound braid and a 15-foot long leader with a 4 circle hook is a good setup for success. Also, vertical jigs and poppers are a fun way to catch them too. And here's a picture of an all-ladies trip with Captain Tony Young and their catch of blackfin.
Catching footballs. Well, tell us about the lobster, and Sarah.
Of course, I got to talk about lobster one more time before August is officially over because it is the best time of year right now to catch them and my favorite thing to do. I've been out a lot this month, like a ton. I've lost how many I've caught this month. I've been out so much, which is a good thing. It's been a good season overall. I've seen a lot of nice numbers of them around, decent numbers, but this season for sure I've noticed like bigger lobsters, bigger size, which is nice for the Keys because we don't usually get big lobsters here, but there's been some nice, like good sized ones. So if you do come to the Keys and you want to catch lobster, you want to look for some kind of structure because that's what they like to hide under, around something like a rock, coral head, grass ledge. That's the first step, is to find where they like to hide. Then you just need a good pair of gloves, net, tickle stick, snorkel gear, and the rest is just practice makes perfect. So, here's a picture of my last charter guest. We call this dog Rotten Roy, and he was on the boat that day with us.
Not so rotten.
Sweet
Brings good luck. Sweet Roy.
Yeah.
Sarah, I'm just saying, if you get a shortage of freezer space, I know a guy.
Oh. Get
Come on down. You got to catch them.
Brie.
My deal is you catch them and then you can have them.
Bree might know a guy too, huh?
I know
or
a gal. I know a gal.
Perfect.
Sounds like fun. Thanks, Sarah. We're going to take your shallow sports boats hot spots for the Keys region from here. Sarah says, inshore, look for snook biting in the backcountry in the early mornings, and get out there before it gets too hot. Live pilchards are best bait, and if you want to target snook on the structures like down trees, creeks, and mangrove islands, that's going to be best for you. And then offshore, yellowtail snapper on the reefs, anchor in 60 to 90 feet of water, use lots of chum, and the main thing I've learned about yellowtail is what she's saying right here. Be patient.
Yeah.
Because you get in a hurry. You see one or two back there and you're like, oh, I got to get a bait back. Mm-hmm. Let them kind of get fired up. Let them build back there.
Gotta
let
ease
them
into
let
it.
them get going. Then slip something back to them. You catch a lot more that way. So be patient. Be patient.
All right, now let's take a look at some tournaments coming up in the Florida Keys. First, we have the Herman Lucerne Memorial Backcountry Fishing Championship, where anglers fish only the boundaries of Everglades National Park, areas that Lucerne favored to target tarpon, redfish, snook, sea trout, snapper, bonefish, black drum, or bass. Then we have the Marathon International Bonefish Tournament, which has been around for 60 years, making this Mid-Keys tournament one of the oldest. Next is the Take Stock in Children Backcountry Challenge, where trophies for trout, snook, and redfish are awarded in this annual fundraiser supporting local vocational scholarships and Take Stock in Children scholarships. And last, we have the Ladies Let's Go Fishing, Fishing Fever Inshore-Offshore Tournament, where female fishing fans immerse themselves in an annual weekend seminar to learn inshore, offshore, bottom, and fly fishing, and compete in a tournament designed for beginners. For more information on tournaments, visit flakeys.com. But you know what, Jim? The Real Legends Central East is showing their red, white, and blue colors next. I think you know a little something about that.
I'm ready.
Next, plus Dave is showing off some Taco Marine new products at the workbench.
Yes, I am. We've got some really cool stuff today. Some stuff from Avco and a really nice reel from Abu Garcia.
Real nice.
Real nice.
Real nice.
It's a rocket.
Real nice rocket. We'll be back. Dave, you inspire me sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by ALTA Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, Set it, forget it. Catch more fish. Fenwick, feel everything. Tin Cup Mountain Whiskey. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Well, we're back at the CCA workbench for the Taco Marine new product segment. And Dave, you've got some pretty interesting things here, and then some that you don't seem so enthused with. But,
we'll get it.
We're
going to start with the AFTCO collection. It's something I am enthused about. The Heroes on the Water partnership with AFTCO. They've made these really nice shirts that help veterans and active duty military and first responders reconnect with their families and get out on the water. And 20% of the sales of these Heroes on the Water shirts are donated to the Heroes on the Water. They're 88% polyester, 12% spandex, which is a really good blend I like a lot.
Yeah, it's got a good flex.
It's got sublimated graphics on it, so you don't feel it on your back. A lot of times when it feels like you got a painting on your back, and it makes you sweat. You don't even feel these on there. UPF 40 sun protection, quick dry, moisture wicking, all that good stuff.
Feel great.
Yeah, AFTCO.com. They make a nice short sleeve one and a long sleeve. I like long sleeves. I like to be covered all up.
I love the graphic.
But go to AFTCO.com and help out the Heroes on the Water and get yourself a really
20%.
Good shirt. Yes,
that's a fantastic.
10% of AFTCO's. All of their stuff goes to charity. So, AFTCO really does a great job of helping out. Next, we've got this TH Marine Swivel Eye Snap. It's a 3 3/4 inch made out of brass. When you're on a boat, you got a lot of connections to make all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can use one of these to connect your fenders, to make an anchor ball. They got millions and millions of uses you can do. You can't tow humans with this. It says explicitly on the thing here, don't tow humans with it. But it's got a 390-pound braking strength and a 130-pound safe working load. I call it a dog snap because it makes a nice dog collar.
Nice
dog walker.
And size 2 is a good universal size.
Right. You can do a lot of things with that. Go to thmarine.com to get you one of those.
Got a new rocket reel here?
Yeah, this is a really cool reel. It's a Revo rocket spinning reel from Abu Garcia. They come in a 20, a 30, and a 35, I think. It's got a nice carbon matrix drag. But what really makes this thing special is the rocket part. It's a 7-to-1 ratio. So you can really pick up a lot of line quick. If you're using a chug bug or something on the surface where you're chugging and then slacking up line and you need to pick it up fast, it's perfect for that. It's really good if you're wanting to reel something back to the boat pretty quick as well. It's got 9 stainless steel and 1 rotor bearing in there. Got a nice, really rocket lip design for a long cast. It's got a K-clutch and a reverse.
I love the drag detents. They're nice, heavy drag detents.
Yeah, you can feel each click.
You can feel each click. Yeah.
It's got a titanium shaft, the big one does, a 35, and the really nice Everlast bail system. So it's got a nice hard bail on it. It's not going to bend on you. So really nice little reel.
Cool.
I like them.
What else do we have here?
Go to Abu Garcia to get you one of those. Last but not least, we got the STARTRON Stabilizer Plus. This is the first time that a product combines the enzyme cleaner with the corrosion inhibitors. They've never done this before. That's why it's called the Stabilizer Plus. It helps prevent moisture buildup, gum, varnish, and carbon deposits. That's what those enzymes do. And the other part, the corrosion inhibitors, protect all the internal metal components of your engine. It works in all gasoline engines, and that little bottle right there will treat 40 gallons. 1 ounce treats 5 gallons. You can't overdose, so you don't have to measure that.
That's the great thing about the STARTRON products in general. The whole line,
right? You
can't overdose.
Correct.
In fact, if you need a tank cleaner, let's say you've got a bunch of gunk in there, you can put a bunch of this stuff in there and help really just chew it up, eat it up. The enzymes just grind it to nothing.
Yeah.
And then swap out your fuel air, your fuel water separator a little more frequently. Get all that stuff out of there. But you can't overdose with that. And
right.
So there's no downside to it. It's a
Right.
great
This
product.
little bottle actually treats 80 gallons, and it'll keep stored fuel fresh for 2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
Great product.
So it
Well,
goes
Dave,
in, you know, all your stuff, your generators and pressure washers and all that stuff.
another great job. We're gonna take it away, Brie, and let us know where we're going next.
It's a probiotic for your engine.
There you are.
Okay, well, word has it the R&R Tackle Southeast region is the shiz when it comes to the pier and jetty biz. But don't take my word for it. Captain Jimbo Thomas, you're up.
Hey, Bree. Hey, Jim and Dave. You know, not much has changed with the pier fishing in the past few years, but if you want to go fishing off a pier, the Southeast region is definitely the place to do it. There's no other area in the state that the deep water is so close to shore. Now, at one time, there were quite a few fishing piers in the region, but over the years, a lot of them have been beaten up by hurricanes and tropical storms, so there's only a few remaining. We got Lake Worth Pier, Deerfield Beach Pier, the Pompano Pier, Anglin's Pier, and South Beach Pier. And I believe the Pompano South Beach Piers are free, and the others charge a small fee. There's also good fishing around the jetties, although you do risk your life walking over those rocks, but you can safely fish those jetties from a boat. Now, the Boynton Inlet Jetty is basically a fishing pier, and on the south side of Hulliver Inlet, there's also a concrete walkway. Now, snook can be caught year-round throughout the whole region on these piers, and also we got assorted snappers, grunts, and jacks. Those are basically your pier mainstays. Then in the winter months, we got bluefish, pompano, cobia, and even the occasional kingfish caught off the piers and the jetties. Now, most of the piers, they do hold live bait. Pilchards and sardines are common, which can be sabikied up to use as live or dead bait. And there are lots of hanks and snags around those piers and jetties, so you want to bring along plenty of hooks, leaders, and egg sinkers. Now, we got snook season opens today. They've been biting off the oceanside beaches and also around the spillway canals and the mouths of the inlets of the whole region. Off the beaches, the snook, they've been cruising the troughs that run parallel to the beaches early in the mornings. When the weather is calm, which it looks like it's going to be this weekend, the snook can be sight fished with live baits, surface, and swimming lures, and even fly tackle. In any areas that have bait activity, that's where those snook are going to be hanging out and where the fishing is going to be the most productive. Now, in the inlets, early morning, then late afternoon into the evenings, that's been best on the outgoing tide. Fish with live baits, herrings, croakers, pinfish. All those are going to be good choices. You want to bounce them along the bottom using a Jupiter rig. If you don't have any live bait, try bouncing 1 to 2 ounce R&R tackle flare hawk jigs, chartreuse and pink are hot colors, or soft plastics along the bottom, or you can try trolling deep diving lures to get those snook bites. Now, moving offshore, yellowtail snapper, they've been biting very good throughout the whole region. From Highland Beach south to Boynton Inlet areas, and then from Government Cut south to Angelfish Creek, those have been the hot areas, especially fishing at night. You want to anchor over good bottom and 60 to 90 feet of water, get a good chum slick going to get those fish happy. Cut squid or bonita are choice baits. You want to drift them back in the chum slick using a 2-0 hook. And if fish are hanging down a little bit deep, you can try putting those baits on a small jig head to get that bait down a little deeper. There's also been quite a few mutton snapper around and also mangroves, so they're usually hanging down underneath those yellowtails. So it's a good idea to put a live bait or a ballyhoo plug down deep underneath those yellowtails on the bottom. Use a little bit heavier tackle so you're able to stop those bigger fish. Now also, we got dolphin fishing in the past week has remained fairly consistent. Most of the fish are being caught on and around floating debris, also large patches of grass, and the bulk of the stuff floating and these grass patches been roughly 6 to 12 miles offshore. There have been birds working over some of the fish. Some of them have been just out in the blind. They've been eating trolled baits and lures, and once we locate those fish, we've been pitching live and cut baits to them. Most of the fish have been in the 4 to 6 pound range, schoolies. There have been some larger fish mixed in. Got a photo here. This is the crew aboard Tim Sanders' Native Son, with a couple nice dolphin that they caught a week and a half ago that won the South Florida Sport Fishing Club dolphin outing.
Well, that looks like a just perfect day. I'd take that day any day.
Heck yeah.
Congrats.
It's a little bit bigger than a schoolie, too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jimbo. We're going to take the What Are We Smoking fish dip hotspots for the Southeast region from here. Jimbo says inshore, look for snook on all of the inlets and off of the beaches in the early mornings and later in the evenings. That's when they're eating live baits and artificials. And then offshore, get in on the evening yellowtail bite. 60 to 90 feet of water is where you want to be. Use plenty of chum. And his keys to success are be patient, and remember, put that extra bait down for those other ones that may be under the yellowtail, those muttons and mangroves.
Pro
Good
tip.
stuff.
Well, we're headed to the Real Legends Central East region next, where you're going to show your stuff. So hang tight and remember to keep up with everything fishing in Florida. Make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures along with the reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. See you soon.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by STARTRON. Start, run, and store with STARTRON. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Fenwick, feel everything. Strike Zone Fishing. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And YANMAR ASV, a leader in compact equipment.
Welcome back, everyone. Captain Jim Ross here. You all revved up and ready to go. I think you have something to tell us about your Real Legends Central East region, don't you?
I really do. Jetties and piers are a great place for boaters and for shorebound anglers alike. You can catch all kinds of species when you're out there. You know, snook, jacks, redfish, mangrove snapper. You know, you've heard the list tonight, including some of those places where you can get, you know, permit and king mackerel and other things. But I'll tell you, you know, whether you're fishing at the jetty from a boat or whether you're fishing from the jetty, there's plenty to catch. And one of the things that I was going to say is stop casting so far. Just a lot of the fish are right at your feet, especially like Dave was mentioning earlier, on the higher stages of the tide. If you're casting out away from the structure, you're probably casting away from most of the fish that you can potentially catch. So keep your baits real close to the jetty, especially on the upper stages of the tide, because the fish are going to be along the bottom of the rocks and ambushing the fish that are coming just over their heads. So that's a great tip for either boaters or non-boaters alike. You know, snook in particular are going to be sitting right next to the jetties, and of course flounder and redfish too. Now for Spanish mackerel and jacks and bluefish, you can make longer casts, especially with, you know, plugs like gotchas and spoons and things like that, and you can catch a lot of fish out away from the jetty. But for those other species, they're right under your feet a lot of the time, so don't cast so far. We've got a picture here of a snook that we pulled off of the Canaveral pier here this week, or the jetty this week. You can see that we just made a nice cast right up there next to that, and Scott really enjoyed that thing.
That's where you took us when we filmed for YouTube that one day, right? We were trying to look for them. We didn't find them, but
they weren't there that day, but they were there this day.
Yeah, I'd say so.
My second species is speckled trout. And, you know, Captain Mike Mann of Fat Fish Guide Service up in New Smyrna was saying that he's gotten into some really nice trout here in the last 2 weeks. Mike says that the 4-inch sea shads and also live fingerling mullet are working really well right now. Anywhere from about Slippery Creek south to the Pole and Troll Zone at Tiger Shoal. Topwater action is going to get better and better. There's more and more mullet showing up in that area, especially the fingerling mullet. And so look for those next couple of mornings to be really good, especially with the topwater plug, but also in the evenings, and especially like Paige was saying, after a thunderstorm, if you can get out there in the evening time when the water's cooled down, the bait fish they're just sizzling the surface.
I love that.
Yeah, that you can hear that sound, and topwater's been really good. Our average trout's about 15 to 20 inches right now. Swinging offshore, snapper bite has been really good this week. The guys that are trolling baits are doing horrible, so don't do it. Go straight down. You've got lane snapper, you've got mangrove snapper, you've got mutton snapper, you've got vermilion snapper. There's a lot of different snappers right now, 90 to 135 feet of water. Small live baits are by far the best things to drop down there. Grunt plugs and ballyhoo plugs will also work. Most of our snappers are running 2 to 6 pounds. And so those live pilchards and greenies and even fingerling mullet are working really good for them. Slightly larger baits like croakers and pinfish are going to work better for those bigger mutton snapper that can get up into that double-digit range. And then last, tarpon. And you know, if you ever wanted to catch a tarpon in the Real Legends Central East region, right now is the time to do it. Tarpon are just about everywhere. They're inshore. The guys in the Sebastian River are catching them. Crane Creek, O'Galley River. Around the O'Galley Causeway, there's big schools of tarpon in the Indian River right now. Turnbull Creek, anywhere where you see water flowing into the lagoon after these storms, you're going to find smaller fish. And then of course the deeper areas, you're going to find the bigger fish around those dredge holes and around those piers that are sticking out into the lagoon system there. Now out on the beach, excellent numbers of tarpon again this week. Find the bait pods. If you find the pogies, pilchards, or especially if you find the red minnows or glass minnows mixed with the pogies or pilchards, great places to find tarpon. You're going to want to drift or slow troll those baits. And a 7/0 circle hook seems to work really well. I've been using 60-pound test. The water's been a little cleaner. If the water gets dirty, you can jump back up to 80-pound test leader. And you know, most of our fish right now are anywhere from about 60 to, some of those fish are pushing into that 140, 150-pound range. So. Wow. You know, there's some good fish, whether you're fishing in the lagoon systems, the Indian banana or mosquito, or you're fishing out on the beach. Right now is one of the best times I've seen to catch tarpon in the Central East region. So if you want to do it.
Is that normal for this time?
No, it's early. It's early this year. Normally it's once the finger mullets show up. But this year they're on those red minnows, really, really thick. And I've got a photo here of one of the ones that we landed last week. You know, there's your average lagoon and or beach tarpon right now, 5.5 to feet long or so, and just pretty fish.
Well, I'll take that any day. Let's take a look at your Rodan Marine Systems hotspots for the Central East region, shall we?
That sounds like a good plan. Well, we're going to go inshore. We're going to look for some redfish, snook, and tarpon. Up at the Ponce Inlet, that area has been red hot for those three species. You want to use live pogies, croakers, or pinfish near the jetty rocks. And then offshore, mangrove, lane, and mutton snapper. Fish those 90 to 130 foot reefs and wrecks. Use live pilchards, greenies, or grunt plugs on a standard bottom rig.
All right, well, moving right along, our Captain Ronnie Houston in the Casa Vieja Southwest region has some tips for your pier and jetty excursion you're going to want to hear. So listen up, and Ronnie, take it away.
Well, like always, it's a pleasure being there. You know, probably one of the best things about piers and jetties in my region is you really don't have to go far to catch fish, either by land or by boat, and it can be relatively simple. Now, number one, it's structure to a variety of fish year-round, and depending upon what time of year it is, it holds snook, tarpon, jacks, ladyfish, redfish, snappers, sheephead, drum, just to name a few, so plenty of fish. Another thing is there's generally bait on it all year round. But one of the most important things is going to be your tides. You know, when it comes to tides and species, there's always going to be a key spot on that pier piling or on that jetty where the fish are always at and then always hold at a certain tide, which you can basically 100% of the time go to that go-to rock or piling and catch them. Baits are relatively simple also. They're going to be your gold and silver spoons, bucktail jigs, soft plastic shrimp and paddle tails, lip plugs, or a variety of cut baits on the bottom. Live shrimps, pilchards, thread fins, and pinfish, free-line run and knocker rigs. So generally fishing around your piers and jetties, it doesn't take long. If you just put in the time, you'll catch one of those species. Now, on the inshore side, the last couple of weeks I've talked about how good the red fishing is up to the north and it's been slow to the south. But there seems to be a new batch of redfish moving into the south, from Coon Key to Pavilion Key along the outer Gulf Islands. I look for these fish on the last half of the incoming or the first half of the outgoing tide. But something strange has happened. Mark of the Wiggins Pass, along intercoastal docks and seawalls in areas where there's not a lot of tide. Well, or you want to concentrate on your slacker tide. There's redfish along the docks. To the south, you want to find these fish on the lower tides with gold spoons or topwater walk-the-dog lures like the Berkeley Hijacker 120. Particular colors have been bone or mullet. But as the tide gets higher, you want to go to them cut baits, knocker rigs, along with live pilchards and pinfish. And here's just a prime example of some oversized fish that have been caught recently in the region in the last 2 weeks. And another thing is, we've just had a last-minute signing by FWC, an executive order, closing snook season and not opening it up like they should have September 1st from Charlotte Harbor back to the south. If you plan on going snook fishing and keeping some snook, you might want to check out the FWC website and check out that executive order. On the offshore side, the cobia. Now, according to a few captains I've spoken to in the last 2 weeks, these cobias seem to be showing up, making a migration back to the south from the north. So you want to start looking for these fish on most wrecks, artificial reefs, and towers. Now, just so you know, most wrecks and artificial reefs are public knowledge. You can simply look them up. But the fish can be on top in groups or on the bottom. Large live baits, along with bucktails, artificial eels, big chugging lures to attract them, 5 to 8 inch swim baits. And if you're anchored up, you always want to make sure you have something ready, a pitch bait ready, whether it be one of the artificials I mentioned or a live bait sitting in a 5-gallon bucket or ready, good access in the live well. Last species is going to be the red grouper and the snappers. With the closing of the red grouper over the weekend, there still is opportunity to catch mangrove snappers in the depths where you were catching those red groupers, as well as yellowtails. Just southwest of Naples, key depths have been 50 to 70 feet of water. Now, all 3 species have been caught in those depths, but the snappers are plentiful. Chumming is going to be the key to catch the fish. Now, if the fish don't cooperate to the chum and you got to go to the bottom, simple chicken rigs with cut baits will get them going. But if the fish are turned on with the live chum, simply use live shrimp, pilchers, and cut baits drop back. Here's a prime example with the closure in the last few days of the red groupers, a couple of nice red groupers that were caught to keep and eat just before the closure. So the weather right now is looking good. Might be a little bit cooler with the north-northeast winds for the weekend. Get out, catch you some fish.
Great report, Ronnie. One of the things that Ronnie mentioned was there's an emergency action on the snook in that region. It's interesting to see because we had an emergency closure on redfish in my region, which starts this week as well.
Interesting.
In the Central East region. So it's interesting that they're taking immediate actions on certain species that they feel need to be more protected in certain areas. So good job for FWC.
That's great. Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Ronnie. I'm going to take your catty can hot spots for the Southwest region from here. Ronnie says inshore snook season is open. Gordon's Pass, South Intracoastal docks and seawalls at night. We need to double check on that region though with that new FWC closure. So make sure that you're fishing in waters that you can fish in, not that you can't fish in, and keep those fish offshore. Permit from Stump Pass to Sanibel. You want to check the wrecks and anywhere from as close as 7 miles out to about 30 miles, and obviously live crabs. Permit love crabs. Although you caught one on a shrimp when you were with me.
I know. Go figure. Permit love crabs, except when Brie goes fishing for them with a shrimp. Great. All right. Well, the Discover Crystal River Northwest region is ready to show off its pier and jetty magic coming right up. So stay hooked right here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, and we'll be right back. Look at that cute little thing.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Shallow Sport. Penn. Let the battle begin. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. And Taco Marine. Troll the edge.
Today's Power Pole tip of the week is about the many different ways that you can mount your power pole. Now, I often get asked, hey, Captain Rick, how do we install this? Well, it's real simple, guys. All makes and models come with a standard bracket. It's designed to drill 4 holes in the transom, and then you through bolt the power pole through the transom itself. Now, we also have a variety of different brackets that are designed for different applications. This particular one is called the adapter plate for jack plates. Now, I like this because, one, it angles out my power poles like this. Plus, I also have the ability during the installation to have adjustments up and down, as well as adjust the tips in and out. The other thing that's very, very common is the engine mount. That simply uses the bolts from the engine, and then we have these wings that come off just like you see here, giving you a great angle like you have with the jack plate adapter. Now, the other thing that we also use is the deck mount for those guys that have pontoons. So that actually bolts to the top. So keep in mind there's many different ways to mount your power pole, and that's today's Power Pole tip of the week.
There's adapters for everything. There's no reason not to have a power pole on your boat,
Exactly.
people.
You can
Rick
put one
said
on
it best.
anything now. Pontoon, John boat, kayak,
Exactly.
everything.
No
Everything
excuse.
gets a power
Blow
pole.
up, stand up paddleboard. Just kidding, maybe not. All right, the Discover Crystal River Northwest region is absolutely ready with Captain Jeff Hageman to show off its most prized and you know, just lovable pier and jetty attraction. So Hag, close us out with a bang.
Remember, you got to have 2 power poles, not just one. So
Right,
you don't
the
split.
double
You got to
pole
put 2 of them
pole.
in the back of your boat.
Double,
In my region, we have
hashtag
a
double
ton of piers
PPD.
that can be fished. One of the biggest fishing piers in the state of Florida, the Sunshine Skyway Pier, spans most of the mouth of Tampa Bay and holds a ton of bait fish most of the year long, which brings in a bunch of predators looking for an easy meal. Anglers have a variety of species to catch from there: tarpon, sharks, kingfish, grouper, snapper, Spanish mackerel, sheep's head, just to name a few. We got great water flow there. The old fishing pier, the old bridge was knocked down, and the remains of it was scattered all along the fishing pier. So it's got a great artificial reef most of the way across it, and you can catch a lot of fish off of it. We also have other piers in our region. Paso Grill Jetty is one of them on our coast. Clearwater Pier is another one. We have lots of access points, and you don't have to have a boat to get out there and enjoy our saltwater fishing or to take a kid fishing in my region. Staying inshore, the snook bite remains strong in the lower half of the region. On both the incoming and outgoing tides, look for fish in places that have good current flow around docks, passes, bridges, mangrove points, sandy potholes. Live pinfish and sardines have been the go-to baits. First thing in the morning and late afternoon, walk the dog-type surface baits are working best, and quarter-ounce jig heads or a weighted worm hook with a white jerk shad are also very effective as that sun gets a little higher. Moving offshore, Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete reports on black grouper. He had opportunity this last weekend to fish the Sarasota Slam, which I know Paige did very well in too on the inshore side of it. It's an inshore and offshore tournament. He came in second place in the grouper division with a 53-pound carbo. He caught 190 feet of water over a rock ledge. He ate a pinfish on a 100-pound leader with an 8/0 circle hook. And I got a picture of John Briscoe with that grouper. It's his best black grouper to date. A good one there.
It is a good one.
Yes, it is.
Staying offshore with Captain Rob, he says right now the grouper bite has been really good and it's been on fire, catching them out in 200 to 250 feet of water, 100-pound fluorocarbon leader, 12 to 16 ounces of lead depending on the current, 6 to 8/0 circle hook. He says even as hot as it is, you still want to get out there first thing in the morning. That mid-morning bite is kind of shutting things off, so get up there early, get out there early, get those baits down, and catch them fish. And I've got a picture of Jeff Curry with his biggest gag caught in that tournament as well.
Wow. I tell you, you know, those offshore reefs and wrecks sure hold some nice stuff. But Jeff, you know, in your region, around the Skyway Bridge in particular, people can catch grouper, legal grouper, right off of the jetty there and inside of the bay itself. Do you know guys that have a tendency to do that, or what would you recommend for people to do if they're going to go do that kind of fishing?
All that riprap I was talking about, all the old bridge was dumped out there, so there's a lot of great grouper fishing. And then the shipping channel itself got cut into Tampa Bay when they dredged it for the shipping in there. So a lot of guys get out in the Tampa Bay and they'll troll those edges with big jigs, big 6, 8, 8-ounce jigs or big lip plugs, and troll those edges and troll that riprap pile and all the shipping lanes there and catch a lot of big grouper. We've also got a great shallow water grouper fishery in 8 feet of water on out to 50 feet of water from just north of me and Newport Richey all the way up past Wackasasa. So we've got some great inshore grouper fishing.
Well, those are some great tips. And I tell you what, Jeff, if somebody wants to get out there and do that, is that something that you would be taking them to do, or do you just refer them to somebody else?
I fish the northern part. We get out there and throw plugs at them. So I do it up till 9 miles. I don't do anything out past 9 miles. I stay inside and do that inside grouper fishing. But yes, I do that. The offshore stuff, I leave to those guys with the bigger boats.
Do.
Yep.
He does it.
Inside, give Captain Jeff a call. Hey, thanks, Jeff. We're going to take your Alzella Keys Marina hotspots from here. The Northeast region hotspots are inshore. The redfish bite throughout the region remains strong on the top of the tide. Use cut bait, and offshore grouper in 120 to 200 feet over rock piles and ledges. Use pinfish or sardines on a standard bottom rig. I love that inshore ability for the grouper.
Exactly. Me too. All right. Well, Jim, I'm pumped for Labor Day. And I know you all are too, but make sure you stick around because we're telling you what we're fishing for next week. Will you be here next week too?
Well, you know, there's a chance. There's always a chance, right?
We'll tell you what we're fishing for next week on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, and it's a good one. All right, next week we are talking bass. So make sure you tune in, and if you would like to be a part of our live studio audience for our bass show next week, go to our website at FloridaInsiderFishingReport.com and register. It's going to be so fun. Scott Martin will be our special guest.
The Bass Show.
Live audience. It's my favorite. And the Bass Show. Everybody always loves the Bass Show. We took it away one year and everyone got mad.
I like the Bass Show.
Be here, be square, be safe. Happy Labor Day weekend. Go catch some fish. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for being here, Jim. You did great.